Hi everybody, this is Judy at Judy in the Kitchen. Today we're talking about collard greens, and I've got some tips for you for preparing collard greens. First of all, when you're ready to use them, that's when you want to wash them. You want to wash them in some cool water. Make sure all the sand and dirt is off of them because they do tend to collect a lot of sand as they grow. And then if you're going to cook the stems with the leaves, which is perfectly fine, you want to chop the leaf portions in roughly 1/2 inch slices, and an easy way to do that would be to just roll them up and put them on a cutting board and then just slice them across. It's not a hard process. Roughly 1/2 inch slices. Then you can take your stems and cut them smaller, roughly a quarter inch slices, or you can change the increments around as long as your stems are about half the length as the leaf pieces. Then when you cook them all together, they'll cook at about the same rate. Okay, so that's an important tip for you there. Now, a lot of people are concerned about the bitterness in collard greens, so I've got some tips for you here on how to prepare them in such a way so that they're not quite so bitter. One way to remove the bitterness would be to blanch them first before you actually use them in a recipe. So what is blanching? You bring a pot of water to boil, you put your prepared greens in there. If they're whole leaves, no more than a couple minutes is probably enough just to help get them started. Then you remove them from that hot boiling water and you put them in some cold water and allow them to chill, and then you can use them for your recipe. If you've already chopped your greens and you want to put them in the boiling water, that's fine, but don't leave them in there very long or they're just going to cook that way. And you would do the same process. You would leave them in there for probably no more than 30 seconds at a time. Get them out of there, put them in the cold water and allow them to chill, then drain them off, use them in your recipe. Then you also want to discard that water that they were blanched in, because that will have the components in there that cause those greens to be bitter in the first place. Now, another thing that you can do to help cut the bitterness in collard greens is to pair them with another strongly flavored ingredient. Collard greens can be strong in their flavor, so you want to match that with another strong flavored ingredient. It could be bacon, it could be sausage, it could be garlic or something spicy. You might even try something mildly sweet like roasted squash, like roasted butternut squash, something like that, or even a little bit of dried fruit. And those stronger flavors will help to counteract the bitterness in your greens. You can also try adding a little bit of acid to your collard greens at the very end of cooking. Now, I mean just a little bit, like a tablespoon of vinegar of choice or a tablespoon of lemon juice. Not a lot, and I'm talking about that amount over a full bunch of collard greens that have been cooked. This is a trick that I use a lot. We actually had collard greens last night, and my husband commented that he usually doesn't like collard greens, but he likes the way I fix them because they're not bitter. What do? Add a tablespoon of vinegar or lemon juice just at the end when they're finished cooking. Drizzle it on there, give them a quick toss just to help disperse it, cover it up and let it sit for a minute or so, and then when you go to eat them, they're not going to taste like vinegar, they're not going to taste like lemon juice, they're just going to taste like collard greens without the bitterness. You could also add a bit of salt or a salty ingredient to your greens when you cook them. The added salt will help to tame the bitterness in the food, and this works for collard greens and other greens like radicchio that is known for being bitter. Anchovies, sausage, bacon, salted nuts, or even a stock of your choice or a broth of your choice will help to reduce the bitterness. This is one of the tricks also that I used last night when I cooked the collard greens. I cooked them in a little bit of vegetable broth, which we know has a little bit of salt in there. I didn't add any extra salt to it, and they were perfectly fine. Of course, I did add that little bit of vinegar at the end. You can also try braising your collard greens, the slow cooking helps to soften the collards, or kale, mustard greens, turnip greens, whichever ones you're cooking. And that slow braising in a little bit of liquid will also help to remove the bitterness. Let me know if you have any questions or comments below. I do hope this helps. Bye for now.